I get asked a lot about risk, and as both a lawyer and sustainability consultant, I talk about it all the time, and in fact, how to balance risk. So I'm here to further unpack and dispel outdated notions of risk that no longer serve us. Quick story. In 2008, the term LEEDigation was coined, which to some meant the idea or fear that there would be this rush of litigation around LEED because it was too risky. In my opinion, this idea of risk really stalled the sustainable building innovation that we need in the marketplace right now. It's a really unfortunate impact. I think what folks really meant was, because LEED in many areas like Seattle where I live is basically now energy code, that the status quo was easier, or there's ease and momentum and friction and change. I call this the lazy person's risk analysis. So I talk a lot about reframing risk because of these impacts to fit today's reality and the importance of ensuring that, especially in today's market where ESG has risen to the forefront, that any allegation of risk is grounded in data and not assumptions. So what's some data that we have from NASA that our climate is in fact rapidly changing? And the impacts of a rapidly changing climate are the greatest risks we have ever faced. And we also know that these impacts are disproportionate, which is why we need to give them even greater attention. So there's a few ways that I like to explain how to reframe risk. Let's go through 2 examples. First, a scale. If we go back to our lead example, whereas innovative, sustainable technologies and strategies can sometimes lack clear precedent, when we balance those against the well-documented risks of a rapidly changing climate, the balance really tips towards innovation. And as the body of research that solidifies the negative impacts of traditional buildings have on both our climate as well as our health and wellness really continues to grow, the risk of maintaining the status quo, buildings that contribute to a rapidly changing climate, high indoor air pollution levels, is really outweighed by the benefits of innovation. We tip that scale. So let's look at a second example, a domino effect. As the research, again, keeps piling up that clearly demonstrates that data-driven risks associated with a rapidly changing climate, so does the liability for failing to do better. It really creates this kind of domino effect. I think this graphic becomes even clearer when we apply it to the example of the growing body of research that demonstrates the negative health and cognitive impacts of poor indoor air quality. If you've followed me at all, you know that I say ad nauseum, healthy buildings are a risk management strategy, unhealthy buildings are a liability. And this is exactly what I mean. Institutions like Harvard School of Public Health are rapidly producing research that clearly shows a better way. Folks in a position to do better, property owners and managers who are looking at you, really ignore it at their peril. So that's at least 2 ways that I think about reframing risk, or maybe putting it in the appropriate context, a rapidly changing climate. Hope that helps.